We're back now with CBS News Director of Elections, Anthony Salvanto, who is in our New York studio. Anthony, so you're in New York. Let's start with New York. What's the state of play there for Donald Trump?
Well, the polling has had Donald Trump up, John, but in New York, as we'll see in the story elsewhere, up isn't enough anymore. He has to win, and he has to win big. Because what happens is New York will be giving out its delegates by congressional district and also proportionally within those districts. So what it means is that for Donald Trump to get back on track after the loss in Wisconsin, after Ted Cruz has been cutting into his lead, as you said, he will need a large win in New York. Probably watch if he can get, say, 2/3 of the delegates out of it. That would be a rebound after falling short this week.
So the polls have Trump up by a lot in New York. It's also not a state that really sets up very well for Ted Cruz. So what, though, does Ted Cruz do in New York? Is there a way he can grab some delegates from Trump and, for that matter, John Kasich following a similar strategy?
There is. In fact, if you look at New York the way the campaigns will start looking at New York, it is district by district, which means that candidates like a Cruz or a Kasich, who may fall short overall, are going to be going around and cherry picking pockets of places where there might be more conservative voters. And there are delegates to be had. Maybe it's upstate, maybe it's in these areas of New York up here, where if they can find more conservative voters and pull out some districts from those areas, their strategy will be, stop undermine a little bit Trump's delegate count and try a little bit to cut into that lead by picking up delegates here and there.
That's right. So the goal now for Cruz, well, let's just, before we get to that, is the chance that Senator Cruz could get to the magic number of 1,237, is that really possible when you look at the math right now?
Well, right now, only Donald Trump has a truly viable chance to get to the magic number of 1237. In fact, it's the size of Trump's overall lead that has people talking in terms, like we're saying, of slowing him down, of preventing him from getting to that majority, and then taking this on to what would be a contested or an open convention. So for everybody trailing Donald Trump, that's the key. It's, can they slow down Donald Trump enough, cut into his ability to amass delegates as we go forward enough that they deny him that majority, and then we go on to Cleveland, John.
You mentioned that Trump would need 2/3 of New York to kind of be on track. How would he have to do in all the remaining contests to have a shot for him to get the 1,237 and be done with all this talk of an open convention?
It's going to take a while. Look, we have seen Donald Trump have big nights before, but he is going to have a lot of big nights from here out in order to make it. When we start looking beyond New York, when we get to the Atlantic states, we'll get to Pennsylvania, we'll get to Delaware and Rhode Island, for example, at the end of April. He'll need big wins there. And then after that, we're going to head into the Midwest. We're going to head to Indiana, and then eventually on west to Washington and Oregon. In all of that, Donald Trump would have to win a majority of delegates in a majority of states in order to get back on path. And even then, he would just barely get above 1237, after which he would have to go out to California and then get, I think, about 80% of the delegates out of California just to get that magic number of 1237. So he has to keep winning. He has to keep winning big in order to get there.
Let's switch to the Democratic side. What does Bernie Sanders have to do to shrink the delegate lead that Hillary Clinton has in the remaining contests?
It's harder for Bernie Sanders because of, as you mentioned earlier, the rules. The way that Democrats give out their delegates is proportional, meaning that they give some to the winner, but also some to the loser in all of the states. So anybody who is trailing, and in this case, of course, Bernie Sanders is trailing Hillary Clinton, he needs to not just win, but again, he needs to win big. In fact, so big that it would be the kind of wins that we just frankly don't see and haven't seen. Something like 70-30 or 80-20. There's another wrinkle in all of this too, John, and that is what Democrats call the superdelegates. Those are represented in this part of the light blue bar, as you see in Hillary Clinton's lead right here. Superdelegates are Democratic Party leaders. Sorry.
We're going to have to interrupt you right there.
Okay.
We'll be back to you next week. Thanks so much, and we'll be right back with a look at contested conventions.